I agree. And to build on that, maybe they should avoid putting Valentina on Coffin because that makes it a two-step process. That muddles the approach for Twisted Minds to a cleaner winning image. Well, you gotta shorten that line. Make it simple.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the problems here is that in that last draft, Twisted Minds prioritizing the Moskov over the low Yi might be something that NIP Flash has in the back of their heads in this draft, where it's like, wait, they'd rather pick the Moskov in the first phase red side other than the low Yi, when that was a threat that they eventually banned out, or NIP Flash banned out. So I feel like if NIP Flash holds into that thought, they might leverage that. Hell, might even steal away the low Yi themselves.
Could be, but considering what their bans are, get rid of the... What were the main problems? Get rid of the Tro. We're also getting rid of the Hilda that we let through last game. And we've seen teams punish a first pick Hilda before, but unfortunately for Twisted Minds, it's just a stone underneath their shoe. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be persistent, and it's such a pain when you step over it.
And this allows for the Hylos and the Jushin to be a toss-up. Like, they're still open. Both of them, plus the Bruno.
Alright, NIP Flash will have their high loss available for them unless, surprisingly, taken away by Twisted Minds. We don't see a high loss rush that much anymore in the meta. In terms of the main contentions, a lot of them seems like to be the trinity of tanky dudes in the Khalid, the Gatot, and the high loss.
Yeah.
The ones who can pack the Revitalize alongside whatever the junglers might be, usually the Suyo.
Hylos or Jushin, let's see.
Yeah. On the Jushin as well.
Curious which opener that they actually want to go for here. At least with Jushin, it makes, at least you can think of, hey, maybe I can look to punish, make me control some more, you know, phantom tax that mid lane as much as you can. But the high loss enables a lot of compositions, especially marksmen who can't seem to keep up with the rest of the team. And I think at least with Bruno out of that picture, there might be some considerations for some of the older picks in the book.
They're really considering, because if you do pick the Hylos here, the Jushin goes into NIP Flash and get in.
Goes both ways, and it looks like they're going to go with the Suyo and give both away unless NIP Flash want to pose a different problem.
NIP Flash, I would not be so miffed if they decided
to
steal away the
Jushin
Lowy.
Hylos. Oh, really?
I'd rather pick up the Lowy over the Jushin.
Really? Overall? Well, okay. If they do decide over the Lo Yi rather than the Jushin,
my mission.
Then they would need, do they need as much lane priority? Because I feel like Hylos is a given, right? We expect the Hylos to go through. They could double flex pick for all we know and kind of leave the game over.
The mid, yeah, let mid do itself.
Yeah, let mid do itself. They take the Jushin and said, it is a natural, nice combo when you have the Hylos as well as the Jushin. They can kite, they can chase, and now you can pivot your comp from not only skirmishing, but to be a full-on chase comp.
They can double back. They can just, again, with these two, they win mid. And then they just allow Vanix to double lane and do what they did in game 2 all over again.
So for this one, do they pick between the Gatot or Khalid and then the Lo Yi? I am going to hammer down on the thought that Twisted Minds might want to just push for the Lo Yi. Or if they decide, hey, we might actually lose the early to mid again, let's just hunker down into one of our key ideas of let's play around the Sicilian of Coffin.
Which is good against the Hylos and the Jushin. Weirdly enough, but you gotta get there.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to do something between the first minute and the 18th minute.
Okay, so they go for the Lo Yi. It's either the Gatot or the Khalid.
Bound by these chains.
Obvious. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, they want to make sure that this flex pick in the high loss is going to be revealed as early as possible, right? If not, they're going to ban out the natural counters. They're going to get rid of that glue very early on. If, assuming that NIP Flash are going to show their gold laner to pose a completely separate problem, trying to split their attention in the second phase.
There's a trap here that Twisted Minds might activate, which is to tell Twisted Minds, hey, the Moskov looks kind of good right now, right? And I feel like if ever NIP Flash decides to steal away the Moskov, that might be a trap, because that means Twisted Minds will end up with something with a little bit more high damage or a gold lane strategy that they haven't shown yet.
It's a tough call here. It's a really, really tough call. I think they want. I feel like they should just hold on. Yeah, just hold on, chill for a little bit, go for the natural counters in alpha, maintain that tempo, and keep them guessing about this flex and that high loss.
With this alpha pick here, it looks all the more like the Vanix show all over again.
Yeah. This is gonna be like 4 protect 1, huh?
Literally.
Yeah, it's gonna be 2 tanky frontliners plus the alpha and then the Jushin. Dishing out a little bit of damage. The Jushin will probably be their main source of magic damage. Well, the alpha already deals true, then they can just go for strong scaling physical. But if it looks good for Twisted Mind or for NIP Flash, if they don't have their gold laner yet by the last pick, they can go Harry.
I literally invented one.
Oh, they get rid of the chip on this time round. They
Chip
don't
and
wanna
Tig. They can ban the Chip and Tig.
You're right.
The Tigreal, yeah.
Get rid of both of those, and then you're starting to look. I'm thinking from the side of NLP Flash, whether or not priority is going to be important here. Because yes, Hylos is able to kind of clear waves, but I would imagine that they probably want a better matchup for the EXP and focus more towards that gold side of the map. Because even when you are playing Beatrix, you do need to get that first item to at least force priority and then invade.
That's the beauty of them being on red. They don't have to show that yet. They can put the Beatrix on red 4, and then ask Twisted Minds, make my day. Go ahead. We'll win with red 5.
Alternative option, you pick your gold 4, pick a surprise roam as 5th.
Exactly, because you don't know where the Hylos is going.
Yeah. Still maximize the flex option. So taking away Vanix picks, remember the Granger is still an option here for NIP Flash if they want to.
Because even if Vanix ends up with a Moskov, that's still okay.
Yeah.
Actually, no, there's a lot of answers in the gold lane as of right now. I do feel like Coach Larry is probably thinking like, should I get rid of the Granger? That way I can guarantee that NIP Flash are not going to be playing like a hard chase composition. You can't run away from that.
Yeah, because you can play dive then suddenly. It's more dangerous than the Nathan who has to wait like 3 or 4 items.
Yep.
With the Granger, you're like, as long as I'm getting my stacks on time.
Yep.
There's a Chip and Tig.
Oh, if they want a strong team fighting centric composition, they can kind of risky, but a core trio of Carmilla, Jushin, and Alpha can distribute damage very well for early to mid team fights.
Ooh,
That's spreading it out.
Yeah, spreads it out well.
That spreads it out pretty nicely as well.
XP Carmilla.
A roam Carmilla paired with the Jushin.
Well, you can toss up.
Yeah, toss that up too.
I feel like at this point you don't want to show what your gold laner is supposed to be. I think at this stage it's either you lock in the Granger, show it early, or just maintain, show the double flex so that at least you're telling them, hey, mid lane priority can be fought for. It's gonna come at attacks, but at least it gives you an opportunity, a chance to at least fight for it.
If NIP Flash don't go for the very obvious picks, if Twisted Minds aren't careful, they might find themselves on the tail end of a Melissa pick.
Oh, would Melissa work in this?
Or Ixia.
Or Ixa, any of those two surprise backliners.
Yeah, Twisted Minds just got rid of the good mage, range, and dive. I'm not so sure if, Coach Lyric and Coach Dali didn't want to open that can of worms.
Vengeance.
They still go for the Moskov. So they're forcing Twisted Minds. They go into the default idea that we set up as the very first plan A for NIP Flash. Take away the Moskov from Sano.
Yep.
Now, what does Sano play? He will be forced to play something different.
This one's kind of tough. Do you want the extra mobility? Are you thinking about like scaling? I mean, Irithel is still an option. It's not the worst into the Moskov at the very least, but looking at how NIP Flash are not really going to go, they're not going to go flank you at the very least. They want to go take you on head on.
Exorcist of the Shadow at your service.
That's a voice line that, okay, Granger, all right. And Gotcha. Good distribution, a good amount of magic. Okay, damage profiles are okay for Twisted Minds.
Man, not as good a draft as 1 though. Game 1,
Yeah.
that was a better low-yi draft in my opinion.
I agree, but at the same time, Twisted Minds have been kind of forced into this corner, right? They have to deal with this giant battering ram coming in from NIP Flash, and now the question is, what kind of ornaments do I want to put on the battering ram?
How big of an engine?
So is this going to be... They're going to decide on the flex. They can
just go glue at this point. They just need bodies to block.
Yeah, I feel like
Vanix and keep going.
if they have a Roman EXP that can both pack Revitalize, would be very good for them considering they have a Jushin in the mid.
I think that'll be okay, but even so, I feel like... What?
Oh, I told y'all. I was feeling it at the very start of the series. Get Akihiro-san back on his signature jawhead.
I gotta give it to you.
JPL on the JH.
I like the drafts. I just hope this is going to be a very good game number 3. The winner goes to knockouts.
A single game between the knockout stage and the hellish finale of the Swiss stage in M6. Mirko, your thoughts?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, right? The Jawhead, it was a surprise. Was it a welcome one? Yeah, we definitely welcomed the Jawhead surprise from JPL. but it's going to get them the game. I was thinking, all right, with the Alpha, Juicin, and Moskov, maybe they need a bit of damage. So that kind of covers the grounds of the more damage that they need. Twisted Minds, though, they have a whole lot of ways to stop the Jawhead from doing what the Jawhead likes to do.
But they gotta figure which ways are gonna be the most effective here, because this is now a best-of-1 series. Winner moves on to the knockout stage. A loser moves on to the finale of the Swiss stage, where they will face the toughest opponent here in M6. It's gonna be Twisted Minds versus NIP Flash.
Welcome to the land of Dawn, ladies and gentlemen. We started this as a best of 3, and it seems the best of 1 just always comes back, you know? Always comes back to hunt both of these teams. Cortese's got to be careful here on the Juicin. Yep, you can afford to actually take these trades early on the Juicin, especially if you go Brave Smite. But still, you got to put a lot of respect onto Cuffin and this Lo Yi. We saw how effective Cuffin was at just getting really good diversions to place the Roamer Troll into very select places, but also on top of that, Cuffin's just been great on getting the yin-yang reactions, and that's why we see him go for Lethal Ignition. I think, again, there's a lot of different emblems for mages to go for Lo Yi. Some go for Impure Rage, but this is, I think, the comfort for Cuffin, dealing more damage.
Yeah, and that's why we see Cuffin going for that penetration emblem as well. I think it's precisely because of this priority to damage and causing pressure in the mid lane that NIP Flash wants to ensure they're able to get mid lane priority, right? We are seeing a lot of mobility emblems being picked up on JPL, on Cortese, even a little bit on Diablo, because the more they can rotate, the more effectively they can play around a mid duo of Jawhead and Zusin, right? That is a lot of displacement that they can use to really mess with Twisted Minds. And based on what we've seen throughout this series, Twisted Minds is a team that likes to play a typical formation.
Ejector Flicker, Hades, Spear of Alpha Hoda, unable to go for the blink. Diablo gets the kill. Just stabs him with the spear or whatever the Hylos holds. NIP Flash, first blood, Turtle Prio.
Great information there gained by JPL, knowing that Hoda would be in that brush, and taking out the enemy jungler for the first turtle is excellent.
Troll knocked up at the ejector. The Glorious Pathway will lock him down. Troll should be dead again. It's the second kill in this game for Diablo on the horse.
If you personally ask me, a Zeus and Jawhead duo is one of Twisted Mind's worst nightmares. This is a lineup that wants that front to back, loves the 5-to-5 man-to-man team fight, and is very good at holding their position and counter-engaging. But if the opponent just throws one of your teammates to another country, it's very difficult for you to be able to respond, right? Visas take a lot of time. So because of that, NIP Flash are able to accelerate the engagement. They're going the opposite of what happened in Game 2.
Troll again caught. That's an ejector. This time it was with a unstoppable force. Great reads on the map by JPL. Man, Troll can't do anything. Every single time he gets tossed up, he gets tossed up to Hades, the guy who can actually shred him down.
We know that Gator Kacha is typically able to tank a lot of DPS in the early stages, especially with Revitalize, but that usually depends on him being able to create the engagements in the first place. And JPL is not giving him that space. Every single time he walks into a brush, he's now worried, is the Jawhead there?
Hey, this is a horse with 2 kills. Oh, re-engage Glorious Pathway. Hoda trying to go with the ultimate to dash away, but man, you don't go for the horse, not now. Diablo's the one that's unkillable in this game.
Very strange decision by Twisted Minds. There is no way that duo of heroes can take down a Hylos in the first place, let alone even try to bait out the Revitalize. And you don't know where their backup is going to be. Troll is not able to open up the map. So you never know where Hades could be hiding either. There is no reason for Twisted Minds to be trying to force engagements right now. And that's actually kind of bad for them, because the more map pressure they give away to NIP Flash, the easier it's going to be for their opponents to actually accelerate the mid game and not allow Sano to pick up the stacks he needs on this Granger.
And, oh, JPL, I think he spots that out. He knows there's a diversion coming in, but they just don't know where. Oh, Vanix gets caught! Diversion from the back. Troll gets the kill. Vanix is down. Prio perhaps swifting, changing. Sanji bringing it out. AOG in the cast up, but a Spear of Alpha now caught in the midst of it all. It's still going to be Troll probably revitalized, and Hades will be caught in it all. Still able to get in and slashing it down. JPL will fall. Hades caught in the Death Sonata. Sano gets a shot from downtown. That's a 2-for-1 special. Twisted Minds finally getting something on the board.
Yeah, Twisted Mind's still a very, very good team at these straight-up 5-5s. I think Cuffin in a bit of trouble here. Doesn't have mana left. Gonna be picked up a second time. And Curtizi finding a little bit of revenge in the mid lane. But that previous engagement, I think NIP Flash needed to back it off once they had lost Vanix. I don't know if there was a lack of communication, because like you mentioned, Mirko, right? JPL should have seen the diversion. There was no reason for Vanix to rotate so aggressively there without his team opening up the map for him first. And then after that, once they'd lost their element of surprise, this composition is a little less effective at breaking through Troll and Sanji.
Yeah, I wonder if that was actually, if JPL actually saw that, right? Because it might actually have been literally in the edge of the vision pocket. Maybe it was still out of vision. Because yeah, it was definitely weird that Vanix, if they knew, the Vanix walked up like that. But let's leave it at that. I think NIP Flash might not have gotten that information. Maybe JPL was just not close enough. Sano, though, very aggressive atomization, Sky Piercer. And a bit of a trivia right here for people out there, you know. If you guys are curious why and how JPL has been able to get these pickoffs and the instant executes over to whoever gets ejected is because of the extra physical defense shred that you get now. Hades forces Spear of Alpha defensively, gets stunned out again. That's Sonata the Rhapsody. Sano, that's the first stack of the Sky Piercer right as he buys it. JPL with the conceal gets cancelled out. That might have been the second stack, but it's given over to Hoda, who needs a bit more gold in the mid-game. And the lead that NIP Flash built from the early game is gone.
Yeah, NIP Flash needs to chill a little bit. They were doing an excellent job initially. Diversion comes out again. Looks like they're actually able to stop Cuffin and Hoda from going through as well. But NIP Flash, like you mentioned, has lost their entire early game advantage. They are trying to force fights deep in the enemy jungle, which is fine, but they have to remember that the reason they've been able to snowball so much is because JPL and Curtizi have been picking people off. If you're pushing yourself into enemy territory without first separating their number, we see what happens, right? Twisted Minds is very good at counter-engaging, especially when they're all rotating together. You gotta work with a little bit more information if you're gonna be playing that aggressively.
Sano, back to the mid lane. Goes in for the shove. Up top, it's a fight. Hades gonna be caught now. Look at Revitalize coming down from both though. SOD to the back, finding it, but now Hoda gets out just barely. Sky Piercer from Curtizi to secure the double. Sanji versus 3 goes in front of pursuit over to Hades. That's a 3v1 that Sanji's currently actually doing well in. Sano kiting back Sanji. Lantern Flare on him, Curtizi. Caught in the bad spot, still able to escape, and somehow Diablo was able to save Hades in that team fight. He was literally 1 HP, and now he gets the turtle.
Of the Revitalize, there is a reason why this battle spell has been gaining so much pressure in the current meta. The ability to save people at the very end and even catch people off guard, right? It's because that healing is something you wouldn't typically expect. Diversion play, just to split off the bot lane. But I think by now, even our viewers are starting to get a sense of the dynamics between not just these lineups, but these two teams specifically. Twisted Mind wins the team fight if they're able to slow it down and play front to back with their full team around. While NIP Flash is going to win the fights if they're able to out-tempo their opponents and pick off 1 or 2 members before the full fight even begins. And in that previous situation, we saw Troll and Sanji maybe overcommit a little bit onto Hades. They would have gotten the kill if not for the Revitalize, so I don't blame them too much, but they do have to respect their opponent somewhat, right? Now that we are at this stage of the game, I honestly feel like the net worth lead NIP Flash has actually doesn't contribute all that much. It's actually still pretty even because we know how Granger can be once he actually has those stacks built up.
I agree, and that's exactly what Twisted Minds are doing right now. They're just giving all the waves over to Sano, making sure he gets enough room and enough resources to scale up to be that late game threat. And we can see the items here. 6.9k ahead of Vanix despite being 1,000 gold behind NIP Flash. He already has a Sky Piercer. He actually opted to go for the Hunter Strike and the Malefic Roar. So this is why you don't see a lot of the crazy burst that you see from the poke that we usually see from other Grangers. He's still building up to it. Now he's building up all the penetration. So once he does get, you know, maybe a BOD, some of the big chunky damage items, he'll start to hurt real bad. And you can already see he's on the way to it. That's a Legion Sword built up for both Suyo and Sano.
Double BOD timing is going to be a huge window for Twisted Minds because that is when you're going to start seeing heroes like the Jawhead and the Alpha fall off just slightly in terms of damage and pressure. The diversion for the flank, they will be scouted out here.
Good conceal. Hoda needs to time it perfectly, doesn't get the timing. Hoda chain CC, Spear of Alpha. That was perfectly done. Ejector to the stun of the Law and Order and the Spear of Alpha. Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication there from Twisted Minds where we saw 2 members walk out and the rest wait for something to happen. But I think they made the right choice of just abandoning Hoda on the spot because I don't think that's a fight they're winning anymore.
Ejector again. Sanji gonna be caught. Force to flicker out. Troll gonna be caught in the midst of it all as he pops in to revitalize. The SOD connected to back. Vanix going in. Coffin will fall. Vanix with a flicker. And he gets a double. Only Hoda left standing. That could have been a wipeout, but he respawns just in time. NIP Flash get everything they wanted.
Flashes of timing, windows of opportunity, flashes of brilliance. Scattered team fights are the Singaporean representatives' specialty. And Twisted Minds giving it over to them. A beautiful Spear of Destruction by Vanix to catch out the back line. Once the front had already been melted, there was no reason for Twisted Minds to be that far up when they had already lost Hoda earlier. A mistake in rotation, snowballing into a massive gap as NIP Flash have now built up a 5k net worth lead, and with the First Lord eager to open up the base of Twisted Minds.
I got to talk to Vanix the other day, you know, after getting the dub, I believe against, I forgot, the Moskov win. And he told me that the Moskov is just his comfort pick. So the fact that we are seeing him on the Moskov again, and the fact that it was kind of, you know, given to him, open to him, it's crazy, man. Vanix does incredible things on the Moskov. It's the safety of it in lane, just farming and then waiting for that one moment in the late game to go for a glorious pathway. Now, from Diablo, JPL's Conceal going to be cancelled out. Troll acting as a front line. Sano going in. Hades. Spear of Alpha over to Coffin. A bit of peel with the SOD and the Lancer Flare again. Double Spear of Misery. Hoda stunned together, and Kurt will just take all of these kills with the Sky Piercer. It's a double. NIP Flash Spear of Alpha from Hades. Now with the Winter Crown, they're looking to slowly but surely dissect Twisted Minds. That's going to be JPL with Ejector coming down as well. Sano still able to kite away, but NIP Flash will continue their run, and they will make it to the knockout stage of the M6 World Championship.
That means that Twisted Minds will have one final opportunity to make it into the knockout stage. Beautifully played by NIP Flash. Respect given all around to their opponents. They know how strong Twisted Minds can be in the mid to late game. They know how strong Granger can be with scaling. So they're simply not gonna allow them to reach that point in time. Ending the game before the 12-minute mark and solidifying their dominance as yet another squadron making it to the M6 knockouts.
Beautifully played. The composure as well from game 1 losing to reverse sweeping Twisted Minds.
I think we'll let our panelists take over.
A rule of thumb I've learned from watching NIP Flash games throughout history: if the Emperor cannot get his Cho in a situation where it calls for it, JPL will go for that jawhead. And they got the win, and NIP Flash are the 3rd team to qualify for the knockout stages. Congratulations to NIP Flash, and of course, the Singapore region are probably very happy right now.
It's this play style and this depth of strategy and macro mechanics that you should be watching out for. They've gone, what, 8 seasons in? And their viewership is just rising. So if you enjoyed this matchup, all the more you should be tuning in to MPL SG.
They're very technical with the way they play the game, right? And that's why NIP Flash are currently on top of the world. At this point, now that they've qualified, at the very least, they can, you know, take a step back, relax a little bit, and watch some of the other games and really prepare for what's up ahead. Because if Twisted Minds can figure them out in game number 1, I'm sure other teams are catching on to that scent.
In classic NIP Flash fashion, maybe not the cleanest way to start off a series, but then suddenly learning from their mistakes and, as Diablo mentioned in his quote about the Swiss stage, adaptation. They adapted very well to what Twisted Minds threw at them.
And they did not overthink. I like how clean Curtizi's ramp up into aggression was. Sky Piercer, minute 4, minute 5, and the rest was just cinema.
Once again, now let's hear from the members of NIP Flash. If I heard it right, I think that's Hades and Curtizi alongside Rose. Let's see.
the third team in the M6 World Championship to advance to the knockout stages. NIP Flash from Singapore. And with me here we have Hades and Curtizi. Boys, how are you? Congratulations.
We feeling happy.
You're feeling happy? Kurt, how are you feeling?
Happy din po.
Also happy. Okay, now as we both know, you guys are imports. Now when you're an import, you're playing in another country, obviously there will be challenges. Let's start with Hades first. Hades, what is the biggest challenges you face as an import in Singapore?
I would say the food, because of course your comfort food will be the food in your own country, so it will be a big adjustment if you suddenly move out.
Yeah, speaking about the food, if I'm not mistaken, in a previous tournament, Curtizi, right? You only eat what? Chicken rice? So is that one of your biggest challenges?
What?
Food?
Apo.
Mahirap talaga? So what? Do you still just eat chicken rice now? Or do you eat the other stuff too?
Salted egg din po.
Salted egg. Okay, very Asian staple, but I hope you eat more food. Okay, let's start with you first. Now, who would you dedicate your current success to? Because we all know that you guys have been dominating the Singapore scene. Kanino mo i-dedicate yung success mo? Kasi alam naman natin na actually NIP Flash has been dominating in the Singapore scene din.
Sa pamilya ko po, kasi sa patuloy po nilang pagsusuporta sa akin.
Oh, you dedicate it to your family because of their continuous support. What about you, Hades?
Sa family ko rin po.
Family too? Okay, now Curtizi, we know that potentially you're gonna be another player if you win, okay? If you win M Series, this is gonna be your second world title. If you were to win, what would that mean for you?
Masaya po.
Just happy? What else? What else? Who would you dedicate that win to, or what attributed to your success?
Para mabili ko po yung mga bagay na gusto.
So you can buy the things you want to buy. You know what? I agree. With the prize pool money, you're going to go into the shop and you're like, you know what? Just take. Don't have to think. Okay, now, Hades, this win, you guys qualifying for the knockout stages, just made NIP Flash went from underdog to a straight-up contender. How does this feel like? Did you expect to actually make it to the knockout stages this early on?
Masaya po kasi parang nagbubunga na yung pagpra-practice namin. Tas siguro in-expect naman namin makalis ng Swiss stage. Tignan na natin kung makakapunta pa kami ng mas malayo sa playoffs.
He said that he feels really happy because he feels like the labor of their hard work is finally paying off. He does say that he did expect to actually get out of Swiss stage. However, them getting out of knockout stage, I guess we'll just have to see. Now, Curtizi, we know that you're known for your unorthodox hero pool in Singapore. Martis mid, Fanny mid, but how do you think you as an import helped the MLBB ecosystem in Singapore?
Ano po?
Alam naman natin lahat na kakilala ka as an orthodox mid laner because you would play Fanny mid, Martis mid. Pero sa tingin mo, paano ka nakatulong as an import or with your in-game knowledge to help the MLBB Singapore ecosystem?
Di ko po alam. Tinatry ko lang yung lahat ng hero sa mid and nagwo-work naman siya, kaya ayun, tinry ko din sa M6, sa MPL. Yan.
He said he doesn't know how he's helping the Singapore MLBB ecosystem. He just tries whatever hero in the mid lane, and so far it's working out in both MPL and in the M6. You know what? I want to be like you one day. I want to try out heroes, weird heroes on the world stage. I like it, confident. Okay, Hades, last question. Now that there are already 3 teams in the knockout stages, there's still technically 5 slots, if I'm not mistaken, left. What do you have to say to the people who are yet to get their knockout stage ticket? Any words of motivation?
Good luck. May the best team get the slot.
Wow, I like that. Good luck and may the best team get the slot. First of all, thank you very much to Hades and Curtizi. Congratulations on the knockout stage. And with that, let's show it back to the panel to break down what happened in this game against Twisted Minds.
Congratulations again to NIP Flash. Well, what happened there, Rose, was it looks like Twisted Minds got the minds twisted again from NIP Flash. But again, nothing too crazy. Stuck to the basics. And a key point that we made, and even Staffel mentioned during the cast, was the front-to-back team fighting setup of Twisted Minds would have been messed up if for NIP Flash if they tried to match that. So they said, you know what? We'll pick up our Jawhead and fight a dishonest approach to the game in the best way possible, of course. Where it's like you don't know where JPL is coming from, you don't know where NIP Flash is coming from.
Everything came in a flash, and I think that's what really threw off Twisted Mind's approach to a inevitable late game win. Truth be told, looking at this draft, by picking up that Granger, they also kind of wanted to go toe-to-toe. So they took some revisions from Game 1 and Game 2, lessons they learned. But when you're fighting on a front wherein NIP Flash is comfortable, very few teams can actually step up.
I mean, it's true. Let's look at the item builds, and then it goes to show there's a couple of things that are actually working out well, like a couple of ideas. Sano on this Granger versus the Moskov, he honestly didn't do too bad, right? It's 8.8k gold compared to 9.7 gold, and honestly, the KDA not too far apart with a couple more assists coming in from Vanix. But generally, my main issue in this particular game, if you are trying to go toe-to-toe against NIP Flash, there needs to be a couple of reads that you need to make. Once you see that mid trio of, hey, I'm playing Alpha, I'm playing Jushin, as well as that Jawhead. It could have been, at that point of time on the first phase, it could have been that high loss. Either way, why do you want to take them head on? If not, you would have gotten the Gatot so much earlier in the draft.
And they tried to do that, but then they found out, not gonna work out. So they started tossing bodies looking for Vanix. Worked once in the early game, and then that's where NIP Flash stepped on the clutch and said, nah, that's the last time you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And we'll wait. Now, to be fair, there was a moment in time, I'd say the 5 to 8 minute mark, where Twisted Minds were actually the ones calling the shots. This is where Sano was up on Vanix, maybe 1,000, 2,000 gold, and it's this beautiful adjustment in flow that NIP Flash just waited. And they said, yeah, we'll go as 4 or 5, and then we'll suddenly find Hoda even more. We'll punish Sanji, we'll punish Troll, and that's what led to NIP Flash's inevitable victory.
Yeah, to give Twisted Minds more credit, yeah, you saw them readjust their approach. The play that Leo mentioned, wherein they sent Coffin into an unexpected angle, actually almost the entire team, to catch Vanix leading into the second turtle of the game, where, yeah, Vanix just went, he got shot. But then NIP Flash stopped giving any opportunity for Twisted Minds to play into that, where it looked like you could sense, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I felt like I was kind of frustrated alongside Coffin, where it's just like, do I really have a diversion play? Like, where are they? Why can't I find them?
And why does he not have angles? Because there's no priority. You don't have people who push out the waves fast enough and then look to explore. I mean, sure, Granger could technically do that, but you're matching up against a Master Assassin Vanix on a Moskov, and what are you going to do? Open up the map with Death Sonata when you need it to be the finisher.
And not to mention Vision. Even if you do have Granger, Sano running around, throw in rondos into random bushes. That's the best way you can do it. Besides that, it's Troll walking into these bushes blind. That's what explains the 6 deaths. He was looking for his diversion setups. It's just costing them too much.
Hence why Coffin also couldn't go into playing around the map more, because he was focused on trying to just whittle down JPL and Curtisi every time they showed up.
I mean, looking at the stats, it's not like they weren't doing some good damage and absorbing some good damage, right? There were a couple of moments where Twisted Minds are able to look for that big counter engage. But if I were to make adjustments to the draft, I think that this Phoveus is a honey trap. Yes, it does well into certain matchups, but showing it so early on when you could have gone Gatot, if you show a flex pick, I show a flex pick, and now we're holding each other accountable in these stages of the game. And also, when you don't have mid priority, at least you need to have a lane that's capable of pushing out fast and then giving you that extra bit of pressure, which I think Gatot would have done in that EXP side, but it's hard to read.
It's that hero tempo, the way that the draft unraveled, that makes us think that maybe NIP Flash's veterancy helps all the more, because they have just more tricks up their sleeves.
They really do. I mean, you got to give it up for our MVP on the high lows, the handsome devil himself, Diablo, because the way that he is baiting out these fights, it's not just about Jawhead, it's about why is he overextending? And the first time that it happened towards Sanji, he's like, you know what? Yeah, we can do this. My jungler is nearby. Let's make something happen here. And Hades just waiting in that bush, falling into that trap in the early game, allowed them to say, hey, now the top quadrant of the map is ours. You don't get to walk there. JPL, come on over. Let's set up some landmines.
And to be able to set that up, El Diablo Guapo actually had to be the clutch. It's his use of the glorious pathway that allowed for NIP Flash to disengage when they needed to, buy back that lead for Vanix, and then eventually get into that full-on dive, the honest full frontal assaults that just left Twisted Minds just...
Yeah, what hurts even more for Twisted Minds is after taking out the high loss for 2 straight games, the one game they let it through, it became the MVP, the rock of their formation that helped set up a lineup that had a Jawhead in the roam and a Juicin in the mid. Diablo popping off here. He really needed to have a great game because the high loss with a Revitalize, with a Glorious Pathway, was going to be the most stable part of this composition in the lineup that has a roam in mid that can be quite wildcardy.
Not to mention how Hades was just so local. You just notice as soon as Hades can cross the river and Diablo said yes, he would do that. He would steal purples, just dive in, steal small camps, which, you know, gave him a less than ideal KDA, but it got the job done.
Exactly. That's why it's just strong fundamentals and good responses coming in from the side of NIP Flash. And I mean, not to mention, I mean, one of the few interactions I was hoping to see more often, but unfortunately didn't happen as often, Death Sonatas don't really matter to high loss once the Glorious Pathway comes out. Remember, if you get hit by a Death Sonata, even one projectile, you get a bit of a slow. High loss